In this video, I'm going to show you how you can skyrocket your business growth with YouTube. Let's get started. The first question I know you will be asking is, why should I invest in YouTube? With YouTube, you can do in-depth, long-form content, tutorials, storytelling, and deep dives. That means higher engagement. You're just going to get much higher engagement on that type of content than on any type of short-form content on other platforms. So higher engagement basically means more sales. The second is monetization opportunities. YouTube has huge scale with 2 billion monthly users. There's also multiple revenue streams that you can attach to any YouTube channel. The third reason is searchability and SEO. YouTube is the second largest search engine after Google. You may think, well, isn't it a lot more effort to create video content? Yes, but that creates a barrier to entry. It makes it harder for your competition to compete against you if you're producing video. The fourth great advantage of YouTube is your ability to create evergreen content. This is content that will live for years on YouTube. My first ever channel is still going now, has 1,000 subscribers, and my first ever video has 150,000 views, and that keeps going up every month, even though I haven't touched it for over 5 years. That's the incredible nature of evergreen content on YouTube. Here are the full 20 secrets to growing a YouTube channel. Yes, this looks overwhelming, but once we get into it, it'll become a lot clearer and you'll realize it's actually not that difficult to get started. The first major hurdle everyone comes across when they want to start their new channel is lack of experience, their fear of making mistakes. Perfectionism mindset, which I have myself. But if you look back at all the old videos from the big YouTubers with millions of subscribers, you'll notice that that's exactly what they did. They just hit record. An example of Marques Brownlee, the biggest tech YouTuber out there. And if you look at his first video from 16 years ago, you can tell the quality of that is not good at all, right? That must have been shot on a video camera or a really early phone. But he obviously was passionate about the topic and he just hit record. And that's what you need to do. The second biggest challenge for you will be mindset. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. That's one of my favorite mindset quotes. Mindset is 90% of YouTube. If you get your mindset right, then the technical part of it will become much easier. Consistency beats perfection. Yes, it's great to have really good videos, but you don't want to spend months on each one and then they only get a few views. At the start, I would definitely recommend starting with volume. Just get the production going so you get used to speaking on camera, you get used to the audio and video settings, and you improve slowly over time. Another of my quotes is, there's only growth in the pain zone. You've got to be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. You have to embrace a growth mindset. My fourth tip is to join a community. It's much easier to stay motivated when you're part of a community of others looking to grow. That's what I'm building over at prospectfly.com. Head over there and enter your email and I'll see you inside our community. Step 3 is choosing a niche. Yes, it's important to choose a niche that's aligned with your business goals, but it's also important not to overcomplicate it and spend months thinking about every single aspect. My most valuable advice here is to consider the golden 3. These are health, relationships, and finance. It's much easier to create a channel that aligns with one of these 3 areas. Can you make money elsewhere? Absolutely. Especially if you have a business, then obviously you need to make content that's aligned with that business. But if you're starting with a blank piece of paper, think about what you're passionate about and do they align with those 3 big topic areas. Expertise and uniqueness. You need to consider what it is you're great at and how easy is it for you to talk about that subject. You may think, oh, well, I'll go into finance because that's a profitable niche. But if you know nothing about that topic, it's going to be much harder for you to deliver in a coherent and authentic fashion to your audience. Step 4 is your brand strategy. You may think, well, brands, that's for these multi-million-pound companies. Not really. You need to think about your brand, and there's different aspects to that. I like the concept of a brand pillar. If you go to a big marketing agency and ask them to do a brand strategy, you can guarantee they'll be mentioning brand pillars. Here is Naomi Boyer's YouTube channel. So you have fashion, beauty, lifestyle. Those are brand pillars. When I go to Naomi's channel, I know I'm going to get content around fashion, beauty, and lifestyle, which coincidentally are the three biggest niches in the female space. So it's no accident that those are her brand pillars. Second to that is consistent visual identity. This is Gary Vee's channel, and you can see that consistency of the black backgrounds and the yellow bold text. If someone comes to your channel, they want to see that visual consistency. If every one of your thumbnails looks different, human beings are attracted to patterns. If you can deliver that with your visual identity, it will be much easier for people to recognize your videos when they see and they're scrolling in their YouTube search. Step 5 is your monetization strategy. This is when it gets interesting. There are so many different ways to make money with YouTube. You've got the YouTuber partner program that gives you ad revenue, but it's important not to get fixated on ads. Everyone thinks that's the way to make the big money. Actually, no, there's much better ways to make money than just focusing on ad revenue. You've got super chats and super stickers when you're running live streams on YouTube. You've got channel memberships, so you can give people perks like badges and emojis. You can do sponsor deals with brands so they can sponsor your videos. You've got affiliate marketing opportunities. You can put links in your video to go and buy products you mention. You can sell your own merchandise. You can take donations from sites like Patreon. You can sell digital products like online courses. You can do coaching and consulting. You can create your own membership communities. And you can do podcasting, which if you look at someone like Tim Ferriss, the minimum package for a podcast sponsorship for Tim Ferriss's podcast is $100,000. So there's huge amounts of opportunity to make money with your YouTube channel. Step 6 is your content strategy. The way to break this down easily in your mind is there are two big categories of content. One is entertainment, the other is education. That's broadly what people are looking for when they go to YouTube. Can you entertain me or can you educate me? Let's take some examples of entertainment content. Ask Me Anything. This is where a YouTuber will reach out to the audience, typically later on in their YouTube channel growth, and they ask people to submit questions and the YouTuber then answers those questions. That's a great way to engage with your audience. You've got challenge videos. This is where you can go out into the street or any kind of challenge, losing weight in 30 days, walk every day for 30 days and see what effect it has on your body. Those kind of challenges everyone loves. That's a combination of entertainment and education. Lifestyle videos, these are underrated in many ways because people like to see the lifestyle of a person before they buy from them often. They want to understand, is this person real? So if you're on holiday or socializing outside, you might think that this isn't really interesting content. I'm a serious channel. No, absolutely not. People love to see behind the scenes of their favorite YouTubers. The second big category is education. This is where you can demonstrate your expertise through tutorials, product reviews, or behind the scenes of you actually reviewing something or using a particular tool. So it's similar to the entertainment behind the scene, but it's more focused on education. Step 7, you need a video strategy. This is a strategy for every single video you produce. You need to define the purpose of the video. You need to do research to understand what content do I need to put in the video. Write a script, or at the very least have bullet points of what you're going to say. You need to plan the visuals and engagement hooks before you get started, and you also need to practice and adjust. Chances are you're not going to be great first time on camera unless you're an absolute natural. It's one of those 10,000 hour rule things. It could take anyone up to 10,000 hours to master any given topic. Hopefully we're going to get you there much quicker. Now we're moving into the technical production side of things. First thing to consider is your equipment setup. Typically this will be your camera, microphone and lighting. Then there's the filming piece. What's your background look like? How are you going to be framed in the shot? So here I'm framed in a room that's balanced left and right and top and bottom. Storytelling, what scenes are we going to have? Is it just going to be a talking head straight ahead all the time? Or are we going to do scenes outside? There's the camera angles also. So Casey Neistat, famous YouTuber from back in the day, he's a master of camera angles. If you watch his videos, you notice straight away he's doing crazy angles that really offer a pattern interrupt, something you're not expecting, and that really drives engagement for him. Finally, there's the post-production piece. This is where you need to edit and upload your video. Let's dive into the typical video equipment you will need. For vloggers and travelers, you can get away with a mirrorless camera. Mirrorless cameras tend to be lighter and easier to carry around than bigger DSLR cameras. If you're a beginner and you've got a limited budget, you can shoot with a smartphone or a webcam, but personally I shoot on a mirrorless camera. That's what you're looking at me with now. If you're a beginner or a budget creator, you can get away with a smartphone or a webcam. Just bear in mind the competition could be using much higher end equipment, and if you're coming in looking amateurish, it could damage your ability to grow your channel. Gaming and live streaming is much more about the person and the action, so you could get away with a webcam. The professional filmmakers are probably using DSLR cameras or mirrorless. DSLR tend to be bigger, heavier, more robust. If you're shooting in a safari, then maybe you need the most robust camera you can possibly get away with, but most YouTubers don't need a DSLR camera. A mirrorless is fine. If you intend to shoot outdoors, then GoPro and DJI do great cameras for that scenario. Step 10 is choosing a lens. This is where we get into complicated photography terminology. I'll try and make this as simple as possible. When you buy, say, a mirrorless camera like mine here, the Sony A7C, I had an option to buy a standard kit lens, which is an FE28 70mm 3.5 to 5.6. I didn't choose that kit lens. I chose to buy a wide angle prime lens, which is what we see here, the 20mm 1.8. This is great for talking heads and vlogs for two reasons. The first is it's wider angle than that 28mm. It's 20mm, so it will take in more of the left and right edges of the background, which is great for making the room look bigger. Especially when you're shooting indoors, you want to make the background in many ways as wide as possible to make the image more interesting. Otherwise, you're looking at a postage stamp of a person. Also, you've got that 1.8 aperture, which is going to give you a much more blurriness to the background versus the kit lens of 3.5 to 5.6. 1.8 makes the background you see behind me more blurry. Again, that creates extra separation between me and the background. It also, which I think is important, makes the background less important, so you can focus on what I'm saying and my face. If that was much more in focus in the background, you will have a tendency to start looking in the background, go, ooh, what's that book on the wall? So yeah, that's the really great thing about buying a wide angle prime lens, and that's what I would definitely recommend for you if you're getting started. Step 11 is microphones. We've got three broad types here. I'll quickly fly through these because again, this can get complicated. We've got a lavalier or a lapel mic. These are the microphones you see on people's shirts. These are great for interviews and vlogs if you're outside, and especially if you're doing maybe product reviews and you need to move around a lot. They're great for that. Shotgun mics. The great thing about shotgun mics is two reasons. One is they're typically mounted outside of the field of view of the person, so either on an arm or on top of the camera. So that means you don't see the camera in shot like you do with a condenser mic like this. That means they're more versatile. You can take them outdoors, do lots of different things with them. But for me, the quality from a condenser mic would just be slightly better typically than a shotgun mic. So yeah, this is a condenser mic. You see most of the big YouTubers and podcasters using these, typically because they give the best quality, including bass response. Step 12 is lighting. This is a huge science in itself, and I could do a whole video just on lighting, but to keep it really simple, there's two types of lighting, natural and artificial. The great thing about natural light is A, it's free, and B, it's flattering. It doesn't matter how good your equipment is, typically you'll never be able to beat the quality of natural sunlight. Big disadvantage is hard to control. So you don't really know what it's going to do to you So the danger of casting harsh shadows if you can't diffuse that light. Typically you will never really want to rely on natural light. I'm doing it that so here because I've got a window that can come in during the day, and this is a relatively short video and the light is diffused by net curtains, but you really want to set up with artificial only light, and then if you can add in some natural light, that's a bonus. The downside of artificial lighting is it can take up space, so we need to consider how we choose the lighting based on how much space you have to work with. Step 13 is getting your composition right. There is a rule that can help us here called the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a composition guideline that divides an image into 9 equal parts using 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. The intersection of those lines are considered the most visually interesting parts of the frame. Here we have a woman whose face has been divided up according to the rule of thirds, and you can see the line going through her eyes, that intersection there, that applies the rule of thirds. We've also got a chin intersecting a line. So overall you can see this is a really balanced photo. If we moved her up or too far down where she wasn't intersecting those lines, you would see a much more jarring and less visually appealing image. The second consideration with your videos is your eye line. The eye line is an implied line we follow from a person's sight line. So at the moment I've got the camera more or less pointing directly into my eyes. If you get this wrong, what will happen is you'll be looking down into the camera or up into the camera, and those are both undesirable. You can see on the bottom left hand corner there, that left hand image was created with a webcam that's on top of my monitor, and you see I'm having to look up into that camera to get the shot, which has lots of negative aspects to that photo. It makes my head look more round like a tennis ball. It foreshortens the distance here. You can now see the top of my head instead of looking directly at my forehead, shrinking my neck in like this. And you've also got the opposite problem. If I was to mount the camera too low, then I'm looking down into it like that. Again, that will give me a double chin and give you more of my forehead and top of my head. The third part is the background separation piece I mentioned previously with choosing lenses, and you can see a huge difference. On the left, this is taken with it's actually the top of the range webcam, an Insta360. So even with a top of the range webcam, it still cannot compete with a mirrorless camera setup. And you can see the 3 big differences there. One is the aperture. So with that low aperture, I'm getting that blurred background, which helps with the separation. I've got the focal length of 20 millimeters. So it's got that wide angle look where the left and right of the room is captured, whereas with the webcam you can see it's a lot more cropped in. That makes me look less appealing. The third part is the eye line. Because I've got a mirrorless camera set up with some arms here to help me, I can point it in the right direction so my eyes are looking directly into the lens, whereas the webcam setup, because it's higher up at the top of the monitor, is looking down on me. Step 14 is storytelling. This is critical for your videos to get engagement. The first 10 seconds, people don't realize how important those first 10 seconds are. Those first 10 seconds will make or break most videos. Pacing is an important consideration here. If you look at the big YouTubers out there with millions of subscribers, you can tell they understand pacing. Typically they will have fast pacing at the start of the video and then slow the pacing down as they get into the meat of the video itself. There are frameworks that can help us with storytelling. The most famous is the hero's journey. If you look at any successful Hollywood movie, you will notice they often use the hero's journey. For example, Neo in The Matrix. You've got the main character who goes on a quest, they face challenges and they transform themselves. That is a narrative structure for storytelling any video. Another interesting framework is show, don't tell. So rather than say this place was amazing, you need to show clips of that location to prove that it's amazing. Step 15, filming. You can have a script, or if you're really great and you can just talk to the camera without a script, then all power to you. Most people, when they're starting out, will need a script of some description. You need to set up your filming space. You need to prepare your equipment. You need to test the framing is good. Am I sat in the middle of the frame for a talking head, for instance? and we need to check the audio levels. And I've got a way of doing this with my setup, so I can check the audio levels before I start recording. Step 16 is sound design, music and sound effects. Sound design is the process of enhancing audio elements to improve the overall experience of a video. Audio typically breaks down into 3 components. One is the dialogue, which is you speaking. Second is sound effects. And third is music. What I'd recommend here is looking at your favorite YouTubers and see what they're doing. Are they using music? Are they using sound effects? When you're just starting out, I would focus just on dialogue. And then as you get more experienced, then consider adding sound effects and music. The final step of the production process is the editing. Here we need to choose some editing software. You need to organize your footage. You need to adjust the audio. You need to trim and cut your video so the pacing is good. Then add in music and sound effects if needed. You can also add in text, captions and graphics to make your video more appealing. And then you export it. And the final piece is actually creating a YouTube thumbnail, which many people undervalue how important that is. But if you've watched enough Mr. Beast interviews, he tells you how important thumbnails are, and he spends up to $10,000 per thumbnail. Step 18 is audience engagement. Your video has been uploaded to YouTube, but your job is not done. Now you need to actually engage your audience. You can encourage interaction with call to actions, such as leave a comment. What's your biggest struggle with topic X? Respond to comments. Always respond to comments when you're starting out. Hopefully you'll get big enough that you'll have so many comments. You won't be able to respond to everyone. But when you're a brand new channel, you want to respond to everyone that comments so they come back for more. Bear in mind, YouTube will reward the videos with the most amount of engagement. YouTube has features that will help you here. So you can run live streams once your subscriber count is big enough. You can do Q&A sessions and you can do polls in those live streams, asking questions like who's your favorite Arsenal striker, and that will drive engagement because now that person has to stay on the stream in order to find out what everyone thinks of that question. Step 19, analytics and optimization. This is a critical part of your YouTube success and why you need to create lots of videos at the start in order to get data. That's what you need to focus on. Forget about how good this video looks or is it on topic. Just produce videos and you start to generate data in YouTube analytics where you can see, all right, people like this video, they didn't like this video, and we can get into really important topics such as retention rate. Retention rate is the percentage of people that stay throughout the whole of the video. You can see here with this example, 44% of viewers are still watching around the 30-second mark. This is why the start is so important, the first 10 seconds. As you can see, 66% of people have already dropped off by the 30-second mark. Step 20, and the final step, is promotion. You hear conflicting advice here. Some people say stick to YouTube, stick to one channel. Others say distribute your content on other channels. This is a time factor thing. If you have the time, then you can distribute your videos on other platforms. I recommend only doing that if you're full-time content creating and you've really got the ability to chop videos up and you have that editing ability, or you can outsource it. What I do is at the moment I'm chopping up my videos into short form and distributing it on other channels. Personally, if you've got no Facebook, Instagram or LinkedIn content, I mean, it's essential that you buy those usernames that relate to your business so that someone else can't take them. And also it's important to have a baseline level of content. No one wants to consider buying something from you and then they look at your channels and they're either not there or they're completely empty. So I always recommend at least once a month upload some content to your secondary channels. The next big consideration is your email list. The money is in the list, one of the oldest phrases in marketing. You should be able to make £1 per one subscriber on your email list. This is why the money is in the list. You always need to be thinking, how can I capture an email address and add it to my subscriber count? You always need to be thinking of creative ways to add people to your email list, because that will be your most powerful marketing tool, even in today's age of social media. The third and final consideration for promotion is to join a community. That accountability, that motivation and mindset is going to be critical to your success, and it's going to be much harder to do that alone. That's why I created Prospect Fly, and I encourage you to join us at prospectfly.com. Enter in your email and I'll give you an exclusive invite to our community. I'll see you there.